Hey, this is Hans from Dakota Angler and Outfitter, and today we're going to tie one of my favorite nymphs of all time, Dave Whitlock's Red Fox Squirrel Nymph. I've probably used this nymph more than pheasant tails and hare's ears combined. I started using it early on when I started fly fishing, and it's always been a staple in my box. And this is how I'm tying it nowadays. So I'm using, in this video, the Fulling Mill Grab Gape Heavy, and this happens to be a size 10. The hook kind of runs small in compared to other hooks. It has an awesome gap, but the shank itself is a little shorter, so you can kind of tie what you might normally tie on a 12 or even a 14 on a size 10 hook, but you get a really nice gap with that barbless point there. So I'm going to actually use a 70 denier fluorescent red thread. You can do the different equivalents. This one is a Lagarton, but you can also use whatever you have handy. I use a lot of the Semperfli Classic waxed. For the tail on the fly, we're going to use some Squirrel Guard hairs from a squirrel skin. You can also, if you have squirrel zonkers around, you can get some guard hairs from that. You can buy a whole skin. You can buy patches. For a while the patches were hard to find, but you can find a whole skin if you tie a whole bunch of these. And it lasts for a really long time. So I've got a little bunch of guard hairs, and I picked out the under fur, so all I have left are just a little bunch of the guard hairs. I got my thread at the back of the hook. We'll tie that in. A little messy there. Let's try to clean that up just a little bit. Tie that down. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then for the ribbing, I'm going to use some Vivus Iridescent thread in tan. It's kind of like a reinforced crystal flash. I brought my thread up to the front here. I'll tie it down up behind the bead. Wrap that back. I am using a tungsten bead sized for the hook. And then for the abdomen, you can either use SLF Squirrel or the SLF Dave Whitlock blends, the Squirrel Belly or the Red Fox Squirrel Abdomen colors. Both work great. There's even some other squirrel dubbings out there like the Nature Spirit and the Hairline. Just want to kind of pick that squirrel belly color for the abdomen, which is kind of a light pale orange. And we're going to dub that on our thread. Slide that up. I might put on just a little bit more. And this is supposed to be a buggy fly, so if a few of those guard hairs are sticking out, that's no problem. We'll advance our rib forward. Tie that off. Trim out our ribbing. Now we'll do the abdomen, or excuse me, the thorax. And on the thorax we'll use either the Thorax Dave Whitlock blend or a natural fox SLF Squirrel, or any of the corresponding colors from Hairline or Nature Spirit. Just kind of that grayish brown. Give yourself a little bit of room behind the bead. I tie this fly with a soft tackle. You don't have to, but I think it adds to the fly. Alright, so there's our thorax. And now we're going to do a soft tackle, just a hen hackle. I'm going to use a Coq de Leon hen neck feather. Any hen neck that's kind of brownish, grayish brownish will work. So I've got my little hen neck feather here. You could even use partridge. I'm going to tie it in closer to the tip, so I've got some fibers folded back. I'll trim that out. So I've got that little tie-in triangle there. Tie that down. Shorter feathers like this, you can still wrap them by hand, but if you've got a little hackle plier that you like, go ahead and grab onto that. I'm going to fold that hackle back just slightly. As I wrap, I can do that again. Put on a few wraps, and we'll tie it off. We can trim out the excess. Fold everything back. And then we'll finish the fly with a whip finish. There we go. One of the most versatile nymphs out there. Not hard to tie. That nice kind of caddisy color. It's worked pretty much anywhere I've been trout fishing. You can tie it in a lot of different sizes. You know, anywhere from 8s and 10s, bigger, longer shank hooks for a stonefly nymph, down to 16s and 18s. I always have a few of these in my box. Tie some up, and I hope they work for you.